I never thought I'd be writing about this same video in a little under 4 months, but here I am, talking about it after a resurgence of views from both YouTube and a reel I posted on my Instagram page just a week ago. I'm starting to think that the conclusions that I had drawn on that video aren't exactly in line with what I believe in now. I was definitely wrong, but not in any of the ways that any of the 800 comments had mentioned. To give you a bit of backstory, if you haven't watched the previous video, Why LEGO Peaked in 2009, it was an overview of all of the original themes I grew up with as a kid and why I believed it to be the best era of LEGO. While my opinion hasn't changed on why I believe it to be the best era of LEGO, I did bring up an interesting point that had been widely accepted as fact as to why these themes had failed. This is the major point of contention for me that'll be addressed throughout this video. Could you believe that a 12-second cat video that I put together while lying in bed had generated so much more interest in the topic of long forgotten and dead themes like Power Miners and Space Police? No? Well, I can't either, but here we are. Anyways, there are several theories I'd like to bring up that could have possibly contributed to the downfall of LEGO's major themes of the late 2000s. By the way, let's define what I mean by major themes. These would include Agents, Space Police, Power Miners, Atlantis, Mars Mission, and Exoforce. All themes that were cut rather short after LEGO had given them at least 3 chances.
New LEGO Exoforce. High atop Sentai Mountain lies the incredible Golden City. Now a new army of evil robots wants to invade the city and steal its special powers. They attack without warning, but they didn't expect this. New powerful Exoforce battle machines. Ready to defend the Golden City. They have strong armor and new weapons to defeat the robots and save humanity. You can continue the battle on exoforce.com, but ask your parents first.
Let me brief you on the 3-wave strategy. Essentially, at the conception of a LEGO theme, after it has fully passed the testing phase, it'll then be thrown into a sort of pilot stage. Think of it like how a major TV network would often release the first season of their show and then judge its performance by its ratings, audience perception, and of course revenue. LEGO would do the same, release 3 small waves of their product lineup, and then determine based on its earnings if it's worth pursuing the theme further. This strategy has proven to be effective for LEGO, given that Ninjago was tested the same way as any other original product line by LEGO. However, that doesn't mean that it's the most accurate metric that they could use to judge the success of a theme. Part of me feels that LEGO had developed this slightly misguided strategy after their close to catastrophic bankruptcy in 2003, which was caused by having too many parts to produce in their portfolio, too many themes to manage, and further exasperated by the opening of several Legoland locations. LEGO, at least since their dark days, is very vigilant about branching too far out and does a very good job at consolidating their efforts when planning out new products. As I've said many times before on this channel, that is also a story for another day. LEGO has and always will attempt to conserve their efforts by playing it safe and sticking to consistency. Who wouldn't when not too long ago they were placed into an uncomfortable position? While this is a compelling reason and is the most widely accepted reason, I really don't believe I can blame the closure of these major themes solely on the 3-wave strategy.
New from LEGO. Indiana Jones, the great adventure hero. Can he get out of the collapsing temple? Survive the secret traps? And the giant boulder? It's in your hands to help Indiana Jones. Prepare the getaway and bring home the treasure. You control the adventure. With the new LEGO Indiana Jones collection.
Another major theory as to why these original themes had poor reception could be because they were competing against other themes side by side on store shelves. In the years of 2007 to 2009, LEGO had several other original themes that were in their product portfolio. These were Vikings, Architecture, Bionicle, Modular Buildings, and Castle. Most of these series were and are still considered mainstay themes. meaning that they would very likely return at some point, or at least have one individual release every now and then. At this point in 2023, architecture and modular buildings are still getting new additions every year. However, Vikings and Castle have only had individual releases in recent years. Bionicle has yet to return though, sadly. As for licensed themes, these would include Star Wars, SpongeBob, and Indiana Jones, which is a rather small licensed lineup, although this is the late 2000s era of LEGO we're still talking about. I would be leaning towards this theory, but if I did, we'd totally be ignoring the fact that many of these themes did not have an overlap in terms of their demographic. When it's possible to compare Space Police, Mars Mission, and Star Wars as one target audience, it isn't very likely that there's a similar counterpart to Power Miners and Exoforce. While this theory does hold some truth, it would not explain how each one of the major themes we've discussed ended with the same fate: dead after 3 waves and within the span of a year. While I was doing my research, I stumbled upon a video by BrickFleet Builds. They actually made a pretty interesting theory as to why LEGO Originals fail.
My next point is about the long-lasting themes like Ninjago and City. Those have been around for years and are pretty successful. We used to have many themes that had different settings. Take the underwater themes, for example. There was Aqua Zone, then Aqua Raiders, and then Atlantis. But now they don't have to make a new theme for that anymore. They can just have Seabound for Ninjago and Deep Sea Explorers for City. And that's how they explore those settings now. They realize that they don't have to make new themes anymore, because they can just make a new sub-theme and stick it in an existing theme that people already care about.
While their theory could very well explain why in recent times we haven't seen a resurgence of these lineups, it still doesn't explain why the company was in a heavy testing phase, launching themes and then dropping them cold very shortly after in the late 2000s. Before, it was pretty commonplace for LEGO to have long-lasting originals that carried on between the decades. Something had to have changed for LEGO to make such a drastic and brash decision. Well, I believe I might have found the most plausible answer as to why LEGO had severed many of these original themes too early. The answer is actually a mix of many of the theories I've presented. Remember the Instagram post I mentioned earlier, the one that prompted me to look at this topic one more time? Well, let's go back and read the caption. When I wrote the script for the original video, I was dead set on there being only one factor as to why these themes were cut short. But honestly, it's starting to make a lot more sense, and I'm sort of shocked that the answer was literally right underneath my nose, sitting at my desk, one tap away. In the mid-2000s, there were huge economic hurdles that the majority of the world was facing. While I'm not an economist and I can't speak as to why this disrupted the lives of many middle-class families, I can at least speak to the testament of the many comments left on my Instagram page of people's personal stories about their upbringings during an economic recession. One of the major points was job loss in the private industry, and another is the housing bubble, which caused many families to struggle and foreclose on their homes. To put it simply, LEGO was not on the minds of many parents, sadly. This was a different time where people were struggling to even hold on to their homes. LEGO's #1 audience, children, and families, had major alterations to their spending habits. I'm not saying that the economic recession in the 2000s was solely responsible, but LEGO's push for consolidation via the 3-wave strategy after being terrified of another potential bankruptcy crisis, and their newfound attitude of condensing and converting their lineups with less themes and more sub-themes had only made the issue much larger. The grim reality is that these themes just came at the wrong time, a time where people had more to worry about than pricey plastic products. Ninjago is not a theme to be underestimated. It's one of the longest standing themes that is currently in LEGO's lineup, completely outlasting the 3 waves that doomed many other original themes. While Ninjago was definitely a sensational hit, it might have just come at the perfect time. Ninjago would debut in January of 2011, during a time long after the recession when many families had recovered from the detrimental effects of the crisis. It's very well possible that LEGO had struck gold, not by the contents of the theme, but because it had been released during a time where personal spending had increased. People were starting to be less conservative with their money. The economy wasn't exactly flourishing, but it was in a better position than throughout previous years. Now, I'm not saying Ninjago was solely successful because of its timing, but I think this revelation has revealed to us that maybe if Ninjago had released too soon, it could have ended up facing the same exact fate that many of our beloved childhood classics faced, and that there is room in our imaginations for another theme to have taken its place if it had been unveiled in 2011. I'd like to thank you all for the recent positive reception on the previous video, Why LEGO Peaked in 2009. This video was made after tireless summer nights of writing, revising, and trashing scripts, as well as numerous hours of editing. I'm truly grateful for the recent platform I have achieved, and I hope to be able to bring you all more content in the coming months. Thank you, and as always, BrickFleet, signing out.